Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Welcome back.
Back to do a movie review. This is for Fast 9, which we happened to catch last night. So we want to just give a quick review for it. Before we get into it, if you guys don't want it to be spoiled, stop watching this video now. If you don't care about spoilers, continue watching.
Yes. So last night we saw Fast 9, um, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought the action in it was awesome. The scenes were very well done. Even though we had to wait quite a while to see it, I think the wait was worth it. Um, I kind of like the story about this one. So basically, it's about um, John Cena's character, Jacob Toretto, who is Dom's brother. So basically, Dom's mad at him because he accused him of killing his father in a car race. It's like a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Because he did some. I guess when he was fixing something in his engine, and he put something in it, and the car blew up, and his father died instantly. And at first, they blamed the guy behind his father, the guy in his car, for hitting him.
Car driver, hitting him in the back.
And the guy, and they showed this. They have multiple flashback scenes, and they're telling him like I didn't kill your father. He's like, I knew your father's car was gonna happen like that. He's like, I didn't do anything. He's like he knew I was gonna push him off like that. And then so then he starts beating him up, and then he ends up going to prison when he was very young for assault.
Yeah, it was Dom's character as a younger kid.
Yeah.
Went to prison for. I don't know if he did. It was for assault if he murdered the guy. Did they ever say if the guy died?
No, they didn't say.
So I don't think if the guy if he killed the guy.
Well, he got out right away, so it had to have been assault then. If it was murder, he would have been there for a long time.
Yeah, so maybe it was just for assault. But he was on for not very long, but he did end up getting out.
Yeah, so basically that's how the movie first starts off, and then it goes into the present day, which is where Dom is at now. He's like like in his 50s or whatever. He has his daughter, and then his wife and all that. And then
There was Letty. I don't know if they're married though. I can't remember if they got married in this series or not. Because it said his son was not Letty's son. It was just like
previous marriage.
But they lived together. So I don't know if they were just did it together, but they're not married. But anyways, they were living together and trying to get away from this life of
fighting
and going over the world, almost getting killed many times over.
And then as they're settling their peaceful life, the rest of the team shows up, and they basically tell Dom that there's a new threat. Basically, John Cena's character now enters the play. He plays Jacob Toretto, who's Dom's brother, and basically him along with Otto. Yeah, Otto.
Yeah, he did something else. I don't recall what he was.
They basically, they're going after this device that will attack the world and basically end it.
Yeah, it would take over the world's
satellites, nuclear missiles.
Yeah, the whole thing. All the armies across the world, it would basically take over everything.
Yeah, and basically, the team tells Dom, we got to do something, but then he doesn't want to do it. He's like no. He's like, I've had enough. He's like, I'm retired. I'm not fighting crime anymore. You guys can all go do it on your own, And then one night he was like in his garage, and he started getting memories back and stuff, and that's what kind of convinced him to go and handle it. And then they go to this forest, like this huge forest area, whatever.
I think he had gone. I don't know if that's what made him go. I know Letty left. Said she was going. She leaves, and then he shows up at the airport after the following day or whatever, and they realize he's going to actually join them. So I think he, like you said, I think he kind of had second thoughts after thinking about a lot of things and realized he should go to try to help and fix whatever.
So anyhow, they ended up going, and then they end up finding half the piece of the device.
Yeah, there's a special device. If you have two halves, put them together, that's what will control the world's armies and nuclear weapons or whatever. Oh, I know. They said it was Cypher, who was Charlie Theron's character in previous Fast movies, was back, and that was part of the reason why they said, this is Cypher, and I think that's kind of what pushed him over the edge to try to go back and try to stop her from. Well, he thought it was her, anyways, but she ended up being a part of it. But it was actually his brother Jacob and his sidekick or whatever, Otto, and I forget what the other guy's name was. Who was the other guy he was working for? Who was a skinny businessman? I forget what the heck his name was.
Mr. Nobody?
No, I forget who Jacob was working with. I don't recall the character's name, to be honest with you. So Jacob was working with this shady character, and he was over in London, I believe. So, and then they capture Cypher, who's going to help them, and Cypher, and near the end of the movie, she ends up turning on all of them, and Jacob ends up, what do you call it? Ends up becoming like a good guy near the end. Anyways, yeah, they go up to this. Sorry, I skipped too far ahead. They went out to this jungle. I thought there were certain parts that were a little far-fetched, but it's a Fast and Furious movie. So whenever there's a Fast and Furious movie, there's always these ridiculous, over-the-top stunts. Like they go to this jungle. I don't know, and they're driving through the jungle, which I found it was kind of amusing. Like they're driving through the jungle on, Letty's on a motorcycle. They're Roman's in some like armored vehicle, and of course they get the muscle cars, and they're flying through this jungle, and there's like no logs or rocks or anything that's really gonna
stop them.
It's just they're flying 90 miles an hour through this jungle, which I don't. How is in their road here? Like but it's a Fast movie, so I'm not really super surprised by it. I do think too. So as they're chasing Jacob, because they're supposed to go over this bridge, and the bridge is no longer there. And Dom's character, along with Letty, who they were doing, what car they were in, like a Charger or whatever. I forget what kind of vehicle it was. They jump off this cliff, which is insane, and the car ends up getting attached to a chain or a cable, and the car swings around through the air and ends up landing on the other side of this cliff on another island or whatever. And they're all in one piece, like they don't die. Like it was really over the top, almost ridiculous. But they did that in the last one where Dom was in a truck and he's off the island, like over the ocean, but his truck was being held by a chain, I believe. It was kind of like that same thing, that they shouldn't have survived, but the guy ended up landing on the other side all in one piece, and nobody got hurt. Yeah. I think it was funny. I remember Roman brought up during the movie that how it's funny they've been all over the world. They've been on all this crazy stuff, and most people don't even know what they've been to. Like nobody would believe them if they told them. And he said, and none of us have died, except for Han.
Yeah.
Nobody was died. Nobody got hurt. He's like, he holds up his coat at one point. He's showing all these bullet holes. He's like, but yet, he doesn't have a scratch. Nothing. He goes, so they start thinking they're invincible. Which I thought was funny. And it's like you almost want to believe, are they really invincible? Because they go through some crazy stuff in these movies. I mean, and they don't die. So I think that's pretty remarkable how that happens.
Yeah, definitely. So anywho, they found the device in the jungle, and while they're talking about it stuff, these like military people start showing up, and they just start shooting away at them, and then it leads to another good scene. There's they're driving very crazy. They're shooting guns at each other, and then I like the part where Dom uses the car and jumps over the cliff, and then he swings around.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. But it was so far-fetched. Like, all right, come on, the guy happens to catch onto a cable, and so that's what saves him. So if he go off a cliff, man, I can't imagine the feeling. Like Letty saying no, and he's like he's like, this is happening. Like we're going to jump off this cliff. So he hits the nitrogen, and they fly off the cliff, and I can't imagine what that must be like. You're like hundreds of feet in the air and above an ocean. You have to hope you don't die. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then basically, I forgot to mention this, but when they were reading the device they found, they replayed the distress signal out of it, and Dom realizes that Jacob is involved. Um, and then they searched the plane, and the name of the device is named Ares, which is named after the god of war.
Yeah.
Um, in which we just explained earlier that the device, it can hack computer systems, nuclear weapons, the military, anything computer wise. So so now Dom has to go all the way to the UK now, which is where his brother is working with Otto and his army of associates. So they end up going to Edinburgh, UK, to confront him. And Dom walks in this building to meet his brother for like the first time in a very long time. And so, he's telling them, you know, like why are you doing this, and then, Jacob goes, oh, it's because of dad. That's why, it's like, it's your fault. It's basically just about his father because they blamed each other for the reason why he died. It's like, oh, you're the one that killed him, but yeah, it was you, and that's why. It's basically just revenge for everything that Dom did, but really he never
Yeah,
did
it
at
was
all.
also because of they had a race, and when they were younger, when Dawn first gets out of prison, he shows up and they have a race, and he says, if you tells Jacob, if you win, you can come home, but if you lose, keep on driving and don't come back ever. So what they always said, like the Toretto's like family, you don't cut family off no matter what. And when he did that, Jacob had a lot of anger towards Dom for doing this to him and leaving him with nobody, except we found out later on that a friend of the father's took Jacob in and continued raising him. So he wasn't necessarily by himself, but you don't kind of turn around from each other. And they're both pretty angry at each other. The fact that Dom thought he killed his father, and Jacob angry that he cut him out of the family, and everything was just like under a big misunderstanding. And
Yeah, it was just a big mess. And then, anywho, Otto and his army associates, they all show up and they all have, they're pointing their guns at Dom, and basically Otto tells them like you're in my embassy, you just trespassed in the country. So now he gets arrested for I guess you could say illegally entering the country. I guess you can call it. But the odd thing is that when he's in the back of the police car or police cruiser or whatever it was, they're all women and they're all like,
well, yeah, because those
they tricked him.
yeah, Dom's one of Dom's uh, girlfriends. I don't know if you want to call her a girlfriend, a friend that's a female, but it wasn't his girlfriend. It was just one of her friends. All of her friends, she got them all together to pretend like they were security guards or whatever you want to call them, and they get Dom out of there. And he thinks, he's under arrest. He's in the back of an armored car going to jail or whatever, and turns out they're all on his side, so they're going to help him.
Yeah, and so they let him go and everything, and then the rest of the team joins him in the UK, and then Dom meets this elderly woman in a Mustang. I forget what her name was, um, but then anywho, she ends up driving him where he's supposed to go, and then that's where it leads to another big action scene where Dom's chasing his brother around the UK. They get into a huge fight, and then
Sorry, it was Helen Mirren. That's who played the older woman.
okay.
Magdalene and Shaw. So that's Deckard Shaw's mother.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right.
So
So
that's how she knew who Dom was.
okay, so anywho, back to what I was saying. Eventually, Jacob and Dom they finally go at it with each other, like in this family's apartment. It looks like, and they're just beating the living crap out of each other. And then Jacob escapes, and Dom's following. Eventually, he catches up, and then he beats him up a little bit more, and then he escapes. But then Otto and his associates army they start showing up. Then they have the gun battles again. But then they use these. They look like electromagnets, and then they like throwing cars and motorcycles
Yeah, they
and
have these giant
bikes.
electromagnets that they use. I believe they might have used them in a previous movie. I can't remember, but they use these giant magnets to move things around, like cars, weapons, buildings. They're pretty much aimed at this metal. It's going to get sucked in by these giant metals, and they did a really, really cool action scene where
Yeah,
driving through the streets of London with these magnets on it was sucking up, any of those metal, people's watches, cell phones, cars flying around. Also, they could catch Jacob. They were using them, turning them off and on, over and over and over again to try to gain an advantage. I mean, there was one scene where, who was it, Roman and who else? It was in the back of an armored car. They were fighting those security guards.
yeah, inside of it.
So they were in, what's her name? What was the other? What's the hacker's name? That they always. I'm up to Ramsey. Okay, sorry. I was trying to look at the characters.
There's so many characters we have to try
Ramsey
to
was
remember.
driving the vehicle that they were in and using these magnets. So I thought it was a really cool chase scene through the streets of London and all the destruction that it caused.
And they eventually catch up with the truck where Otto and his people are in, and they take over the truck, and basically they end up killing him along with everyone else in it, and the truck gets completely destroyed. Um, and then I think it was before that they Otto tricked Jacob, so he betrayed him and he hired someone else.
All the other guys were on Jacob's side. They all end up betraying because now that they've got the device, they don't need Jacob anymore, and they all turn on him, including his sidekick Otto, who's supposed to be like his like right hand man. He's like a thug, like a security guard or whatever you want to call him. But they all end up turning on him, and that's when you realize that Jacob is going to be going back to being a good guy because they all turn him and there's nobody left on his side. So
Yeah.
well,
Actually, I think we forgot to before all that we forgot to talk about Han returned.
oh, that's right. Yeah, Han shows back up, and you wonder how he survived. Because in was it Fast and Furious 6?
Yeah, it was Tokyo Drift, whatever.
You thought he got killed.
But it turns out in the movie they explain how he survived. So basically, what happened was he worked for Mr. Nobody, and basically his agent went rogue. So basically, in order to protect Ellie, Ellie, I think that's how you say the name. They ended up using Deckard Shaw, who's been I think in all the Fast and Furious movies. They used him to think that Han died because back in Tokyo Drift, Deckard hit his car and basically it caught on fire and everything else. But they used the trick to keep Han alive to protect Ellie because of the DNA that she had to complete the second Ares device. I guess they needed the DNA or something, so they ended up basically pretending he died so that way none of that could happen.
Ellie was the daughter of the creator of this device.
Yeah.
And they used her DNA as the key to use it. Without her, you wouldn't probably use it. You need a key. She's the key, so you would need this girl Ellie to put both halves together. Once they're together, then it doesn't matter anymore. She knows no longer needed.
Yeah, and basically Han had it all planned out. Like he knew what was going to happen and everything. So then after all that happens, they end up going back to like this their base or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they end up kidnapping her, Ellie, for the DNA component.
Yeah, so they end up getting Ellie to help with the DNA, and she puts the pieces together. And then they don't really need her. I'm trying to remember at what point to.
It was before the action scene in the UK, before all that happened.
All right, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to mess up the timeline. So it was before the action.
It's a long movie, everybody.
In London, but they have Jacob's turning good, and him and Dom kind of team together to stop the armored vehicle to save Ellie
the world.
and everybody else.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Roman and what's the other guy's name again?
Tage.
Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah.
They have to go. They have to go into space.
And they use a rocket car to do it.
Which I thought was hilarious. Like, cause they went to these 2 guys or 3 guys.
They like build cars and do experiments.
And every time they try to use a rocket car, it would blow up. And it was a Fiero, which is a car. I don't think they make them anymore. It was a car from the '80s, and they strapped a rocket to it, and they thought they finally got it, and it blew up. So now these 2 guys got to go in space inside a Fiero with
and
a rocket.
Destroy the satellite.
Yeah, knowing that they never perfected it and that it might blow up.
And so basically they take the the potential sacrifice move, and they're gonna use all of its power and just smash through the satellite and hope they don't die. And they end up doing it, and they end up surviving, but the car just gets severely damaged because
they end up floating to the International Space Station, and that's how they end up getting rescued, because they would have had no way to get back to Earth. So they end up going to the space station, and that's how they end up getting obviously a transport back to Earth.
Yeah, and then Jacob becomes a good guy, and then the ending is they all celebrate with a cookout with the whole family. And then
they always do that.
I know it's weird, but anywho, but then while they're celebrating, before they do the the prayer thing.
Yeah.
A person in the Mustang rolls up, and it turns out to be Brian O'Connor, who was played by late actor Paul Walker. Unfortunately, Paul Walker ended up passing away in a very devastating car accident back in 2015.
What do you mean Brian showed up? When did he show up?
At the very end. They don't show him, but it's the car.
They just show the car. They also Brian's going to be coming or whatever. They show a car pulling, but they don't actually show him.
Yeah.
So give the impression that he's still very much with it.
So I'm assuming he's going to be in the next one somehow.
I mean, they do like a CGI. I didn't think they were going to have him in anymore, though. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
So then that's how it ends. They do a little cookout, and then there's a post-credit scene at the end. So basically, it shows Deckard Shaw beating the crap out of a M16 agent or an assassin.
Well, he's the guy is the guy's in a punching bag. You just see him hitting this punching bag, and then he gets a knock over, and he says, "Hold on." And he opens up the bag, unzips the bag, and there's a guy inside that's kind of beaten up a little because he's trying to get some information out.
So he didn't specifically say what information about what, but I'm assuming it has to do something about the Hobbs and Shaw movie.
I don't know. So anyway, he goes to the door, and it's Han, and then
he looks absolutely shocked.
Yeah, then that's how it ends.
So because Deckard thought he killed him, like woohoo, he's gone. I got rid of him.
Yeah.
But then he shows up, and then he has that terrifying look on his face.
Yeah. So overall, I think the movie was pretty good. Again, it was a lot of action, a lot of fighting, a lot of guns, like the typical fast movies.
Yeah.
It was definitely over the top, like usual. I mean, there's nothing. It's just more spectacular stunts and crazy stuff going on with cars and trucks and jumping things and things on fire. It was really crazy as usual. I did like the movie, except for the over the top of it, but I was expecting that because it's a Fast and Furious movie. It would be nothing. It wouldn't be a Fast and Furious movie without over the top stunts and actions.
Yeah.
So I think the movie was pretty solid. I thought
it was really, really well done. Very good.
I think all the actors did a really, really good job. I always like Roman's character. He always cracks me up. Like when they're flying through space and he's freaking out. I don't know. I just thought he was really amusing me.
And now we'll be waiting for the next one.
Yeah, Fast and Furious 10 says 2 more movies left in the
trilogy.
Yeah, no, trilogy would be 3. Saga, I guess you would call it. I don't know what you want to call it. And this series that is Fast and Furious. So 2 more movies to go, and we'll see what happens at the very end.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap this one up. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in to check out our video. Have any thoughts about this movie? If you've already seen it, put them on down below. And as always, hit the like and subscribe.
Until next time.